will be set because you're listening to Derrick J on the Angel Clark Show. Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who could I would call her.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Angel Clark Show. What's going on today? It's Tuesday, August 26th, 2014. And Angel can't be with us today. She's still working on riding across a rainbow of happiness and glee. She's busy, and it's important to get the news out there about what's going on in the world. There's a lot of stuff happening, and if you're tuned into the mainstream media, then you're not hearing any of it. So welcome to the alternative media, where you will hear the news. The stuff that matters. Peaceful resistance. And, of course, some news you'll hear on the mainstream media. Like today, our headline story is London hip-hop artist Abdel-Majed Bary is the key suspect in the hunt for the killer of American journalist James Foley. We reported this story a few days ago that James Foley, an American journalist, is in, I believe he was in Iraq at the time when he was beheaded. He had been covering stories out in the Middle East, and allegedly he's been beheaded. The group ISIS, which is a group working on developing an Islamic State, beheaded him on video, or at least it appears that way. And he was able to read a statement. Some are suspicious that the video is not authentic. Nonetheless, the suspect is a London-based hip-hop artist. And this is of note because about a quarter of all the foreign ISIS members are British. It's an interesting statistic. I mean, I wonder, we could speculate as to why it is that way, but I think it's an interesting fact. Nonetheless, we will get to that story, but first, a more pressing headline is that ISIS is demanding $6.6 million in ransom for a 26-year-old American woman. This story from abcnews.com, where a third American hostage held by ISIS has been identified as a 26-year-old American who was kidnapped a year ago while doing a humanitarian relief work in Syria. The terror group is demanding $6.5 million and the release of U.S. prisoners for the life of the young woman, who the family requested not be identified. She is the third of at least 4 Americans who were known to be held by ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. American journalist James Foley was executed by the group in a video that appeared online last week. Another writer, Stephen Sotliff, has been seen alive but under duress in the same footage. In addition to the multi-million-dollar ransom, the terror group has also demanded that the U.S. release Afia Siddiqui, an MIT-trained neuroscientist who was convicted by the U.S. in 2010 of trying to kill U.S. officials 2 years before, according to a supporter of the Siddiqui who has been in contact with the hostage's family. Now, if you have anything you'd like to share about this topic or anything else news or liberty related, we take calls when I host the Angel Clark Show. 443-424-8347 is our call-in line, or you can Skype me, Derrick J. Freeman, by sending a contact request to Derrick J. Freeman. It will be accepted, and then I'll put you on the air. So you can feel free to interact that way. We also get interactive with a chat room that's free at radiofreedom.us and my website, derrickj.me, where you can not only see audio of the program, but you can actually watch live. There's video of this program. So I do screen shares sometimes when there are particular things to show in an article. You might want to see that. It's just another way to get interactive, and I encourage you to do that at derrickj.me. Let's continue with this story from abcnews.com, where I am doing a screen share of the jihadi terrorist and the recently deceased James Foley. Here in the screen grab, shows James Foley kneeling beside his masked captor. Sadaqvi's release has been a regular demand of groups critical of the U.S. policy in the Middle East and Southwest Asia, but Monday, Sadaqvi's family spoke out through supporters to say they were very distraught Sadaqvi's name was invoked with the ransom request and sought to distance themselves from ISIS. If the issue is true, we would like to state that our family does not have any connection to such groups or actions, reads a letter written by Sadaqvi's family. We believe in a struggle that is peaceful and dignified. Associating Afi's name with acts of violence is against everything we are struggling for. While we deeply appreciate the sincerity of those who, like us, wish to see the freedom of our beloved Afia, we cannot agree with a by any means necessary approach to Afia's freedom, nor can we accept that someone else's daughter or sister suffer like Afia is suffering. The Sadaqvi family has been, quote, traumatized by the thoughts that someone else could be harmed in the name of Afia. That, according to Marie Saleh Khan of the Peace and Justice Foundation, who held a sparsely attended press conference Monday and spoke on behalf of the Sadaqvi family. Quote, they're opposed to it. In their letter to ISIS, they made it very clear this is not the way. These are not the conditions under which we want our loved ones released, Saleh Khan said. Nor did they want to come to anyone else's loved ones in the name of Afia. They conveyed that message loud and clear. Saleh Khan continued, quote, the most important message that I could convey to ISIS or whoever it is that's holding these innocent people captive abroad is that at the end of the day, this type of approach in response to an injustice that you feel is not only the inappropriate way to go, but properly understood, it's a violation of the tenets of the faith that we claim to believe in. We just have to do the right thing because it is the right thing without any strings attached. And the right thing would be to let this young woman go back to her family, go back to her life. And the right thing for America to do, for our government, would be to do the same with Dr. Afia Sadaqvi. The story continues at abcnews.com, where the details of the ISIS ransom demand and the abduction of the young aid worker were disclosed by Saleh Khan and a family friend of the unnamed hostage family in statements to ABC News. Each of the 3 known surviving American hostages in ISIS's hands have been threatened with death since Foley's execution. In the video that showed Foley's death, a masked militant said that Sotloff's fate rested in President Obama's hands, an apparent demand that the U.S. stop airstrikes against ISIS targets in Iraq. The day after Foley's execution video emerged online, the U.S. military announced it had continued bombing runs against ISIS in Iraq and overnight. President Obama has approved surveillance flights over Syria, what the paper called a potential precursor to airstrikes there. So is this the solution? When more threats of death are imposed upon a nation or an individual, is this the solution for peace? I ask you. If you're listening to this program, you're a person who values peace. So how is it achieved? Through bombing or through peace talks? There are lots of options. They don't all have to be violent. And from history, I think we should know better than to choose the violent solutions. But let's talk about who has the power here. Are you choosing these solutions? Are you bombing Iraq? Or is it the psychopaths in Washington? This is the Angel Clark Show.
A great new book is hard to find, with today's authors glorifying the state. I have an alternative, and his name is Taryn Lupo at lupolit.com. Taryn has written over 20 Liberty-themed short stories, manuals, and books, ranging from nonfiction, humor, horror, and romance to young adult and children's fiction. Read the words that reflect your views. Read Taryn Lupo at lupolit.com. A traveler? Well, check out Taryn's free audiobooks, perfect for your lifestyle. Stop supporting authors that support the state. Instead, support lupolit.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Badavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm. Do you love coffee as much as I love coffee? Here's a delicious way to drink the best of the best coffee and make a difference 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer BuzzBox Coffee, and you can try a pound for free. All you do is cover shipping. It's organic, shade-grown, top 1% Arabica grade. 10% of future purchases help our efforts to give the gift of human freedom through at least 100 microloans via World Vision. For more information, go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J.
on the Angel Clark Show.
The Peacekeeper app is out on the Android store at Google Play. Go pick it up. Go get it now. It's free. It's been available in the Apple App Store. this Peacekeeper app is revolutionary. It could replace the police, and I'm working on helping it do that by putting it to good use here in Keene, New Hampshire. Yes, I'm broadcasting from Keene in the Shire, the liberty media capital of the world. And this is an exciting place to live and do activism because there are so many other people willing and excited to do the same thing. And one of the things that we're doing is using this app called Peacekeeper to alert each other to any crisis that might happen. Already, it's standard issue to use a two-way radio to communicate with folks in town, but this could go further than just a radio signal. This can go around the world, and you can let everyone in your network know exactly what's happening up to the second. You can even join others in a chat room if there's a crisis. Say the house is on fire, my friends can be in the chat room saying, I'm bringing buckets of water, I've got a hose, what room are you in? I can type to them and say, I'm trapped in my bedroom, bring me a ladder. And this is just not possible with a 911 call or calling the police. You can do better than the police, and it's not that hard to imagine. It's already possible today. Download the free Peacekeeper app and learn more at peacekeeper.org. I'm sporting their shirt today to let everyone know that it is now finally available in the Android store. Now, we'll come back to that story, but first, we need to close out what's going on with these hip-hop jihadists. Why is the title of today's episode Hip-Hop Jihadists? Well, because news.com.au reports that London hip-hop artist Abdel-Majed Bary is the key suspect in the hunt for the killer of the American journalist James Foley. The beheading of American journalist James Foley at the hands of ISIS militants shocked the world, but forensics experts have revealed that the video was probably staged, with the murder happening off camera. The UK Times reported that an international forensic science company, which worked for police forces across Britain, said there's no question Foley was beheaded, but that camera trickery and post-production techniques look to have also been used. Quote, I think it's been staged, said one expert in visual forensics after he was commissioned by the UK Times to examine the footage. Quote, my feeling is that the execution may have happened after the camera was stopped. Ayman al-Tamimi, a fellow at the Middle East Forum think tank, said over the years ISIS militants have improved the production quality of their videos. The analysis by experts has highlighted a number of inconsistencies that could suggest that the beheading of Foley, which was seen on the video, was not his actual death. Firstly, no blood can be seen, even though the knife is drawn across the neck area at least 6 times. Secondly, sounds allegedly made by Foley do not appear consistent with what may be expected. The forensics analysis expert said that no incision could be seen on Foley's neck, though the right hand of the jihadist partially blocked the shot. While the forensics company, which asked to remain anonymous, did not reach a definitive answer, they did conclude at some point an execution of Foley did take place. This comes as a heartbreaking last letter from Foley to his family has been revealed on the Free James Foley Facebook tribute page. While Foley was not permitted to send the letter, a fellow hostage, Danish photographer Daniel Rye Ottesen, memorized it word for word. The 25-year-old spent 13 months in prison with Foley, and when released in June, his first call was to Foley's mother, Diane, where he dictated every word. Foley describes fond memories with his family and how he and the 18 other hostages being held with him are coping. Quote, "I know you're thinking of me and praying for me, and I am so thankful. I feel you all, especially when I pray. I pray for you to stay strong and to believe. I really feel I can touch you, even in this darkness, when I pray." Those are Foley's words from the letter. He continues, quote, "I have had weak and strong days. We are so grateful when anyone is freed, but, of course, yearn for our own freedom. We try to encourage each other and share strength. We're being fed better now, and daily. We have tea, occasional coffee. I've regained most of my weight lost last year." Foley goes on to describe his hopes of attending his sister's wedding and his plans to take his grandmother out when he returns home. Quote, "Grammy, please take your medicine, take walks, and keep dancing. I plan to take you out to margaritas when I get home. Stay strong, because I'm going to need your help to reclaim my life." Again, the full letter can be found at the Free James Foley Facebook page, which you can find at facebook.com/findjamesfoley. Today, his family has prayed for the safety of his fellow hostages as hundreds gathered for a mass to celebrate his life as a witness on the front line. The Mass at the Church of Our Lady in the Rosary in Rochester, New Hampshire, was overseen by the Bishop of Manchester, Peter Labashi, who read a message from the Pope. "I want to celebrate a life of bearing witness," his mother Diane said. "So many people are suffering in the Middle East right now, and there are many hostages being held captive. So this is a Mass for all those who are hoping for peace, and also in Jim's memory." We'll return to the story of James Foley's Mass, the reflections by his family and the world, as we look on at those who are suffering in the Middle East right now, and those hostages who are waiting for their freedom. This is the Angel Clark Show.
Hi, I'm Derrick J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict, or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid. This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card, and the sign-up bonus, enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm going to tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J. on the Angel Clark Show. Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl with a good I would call it. Wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat and 6'4" baller. I wish I was like 6'9" so I could get with you.
Welcome back to the Angel Clark Show. I'm your host, filling in for Angel Clark today. My name is Derrick J. Freeman. You can Skype me at Derrick J. Freeman by sending a contact request. It will be accepted, and then I will put you on the air. You can also dial in today. Our call-in line is 443-424-8347. I look forward to hearing from you. We return to a story from news.com.au where a family is in mourning over their deceased son, journalist James Foley, who was murdered at the hands of an ISIS jihadist, a terrorist who apparently beheaded him with a knife on video and showed his decapitated head resting on top of his handcuffed body, laying in the dirt. Did it really happen? We can't be sure. But this family held Mass in Rochester, New Hampshire this week. Speaking at the funeral, James's mother, Diane, said, "I want to celebrate a life of bearing witness. So many people are suffering in the Middle East right now, and there are so many hostages being held captive. So this Mass is for all those who are hoping for peace, and also in Jim's memory." Diane's husband, John, said, quote, "We pray for the surviving hostages, and in particular, Stephen Sotliff. We're just hopeful that something can be done to avoid Jim's end." The couple were given a prolonged standing ovation by several hundred well-wishers after the service, many clearly moved by their dignified response after the cruel end to a long ordeal. Mrs. Foley revealed that her family had been distressed when James, who had been held hostage for several weeks in Libya, decided to go back. First to Libya, then to Syria. I can understand a mother being disturbed by that. She recalled in late 2012, before his last departure, pleading with him to at least stay until Christmas. He said, "Oh, Ma, I'll be back for Christmas, but I've got to go." He felt he had work to do, she said. Yesterday, British security services M15 and M16 reportedly identified a British hip-hop artist as the key suspect in the hunt for the killer who beheaded Foley. The Sunday Times newspaper said Abdel-Majed Bary from Madavali in West London had become a crucial part of the investigation. The paper attributed the information to, quote, senior government sources. Bary, aged 23, is the son of an Egyptian-born militant who is awaiting trial on terror charges in New York, tied to the deadly 1998 bombings of the embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. Former hostages held by ISIS have said he is one of the several jihadists they nicknamed, quote, the Beatles, due to their British accents, with two of his cronies referred to as George and Ringo. Bary, who recently tweeted a photo of himself holding up a severed head, was among 3 Brits identified as possibly being the masked killer known as John. In June, the Sunday Times revealed a threat made by Bary on Twitter. Quote, "The lions are coming for you filthy cuffs, infidels," he wrote. "Beheadings in your own backyard soon." Bary, who went to Syria last year to fight in his bloody civil war, has a built, skin tone and accent similar to those of John, according to the Telegraph. Before becoming a jihadist, he was an aspiring rapper known as El Jinni, whose music was played on BBC Radio 1. Bary also appeared in music videos posted on YouTube for songs titled Overdose, Flying High, and Dreamer. But he was reportedly radicalized by followers of firebrand Islamic preacher Anjem Choudary and walked out of his family's plush West London home last year, saying he was, quote, leaving everything for the sake of Allah. Earlier this month, he was seen in a photo posted to Twitter wearing camouflage clothing and a black baklava, while holding a severed head with his left hand, and the same hand John is seen using to draw a knife across Foley's throat in his execution video. Also under investigation are Abu Hussein al-Brittani, aged 20, a computer hacker from Birmingham, and Abu Abdallah al-Brittani, in his 20s, from Portsmouth, the Mail Online reported. Mail Online reported that al-Brittani was jailed in 2012 for stealing personal information from former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. Since joining ISIS's brutal campaign in Syria, al-Brittani, real name Junaid Hussein, has worked to fund the ISIS war chest by mounting jihadist cyber attacks on British banks and celebrities. Abu Abdallah al-Brittani, meanwhile, is active on social media, using Twitter to post pro-ISIS propaganda. According to Mail Online, He's believed to be behind an account on the Ask.fm social media site, giving young people advice on how to travel to Syria and Iraq, and encouraging them to join the jihad. Other possible identities for John include the brother of a British doctor once charged with kidnapping 2 Western war correspondents, and a former gang member who converted to Islam and traveled to Syria. A dozen American counterterrorism experts are expected to fly to the UK within days to help identify Foley's killer. And that is the latest from news.com.au. So we don't yet know who he is, but the list of suspects is narrowing. That is encouraging to hear. Now that's the story abroad, but when we turn to what's happening at home, we can be just as concerned as Illinois GOP sends armed thugs to libertarian homes. According to the IllinoisHerald.com, Illinois Republicans went way too far in their desperate attempt to keep the Illinois Libertarian Party off the November ballot. Imagine your doorbell rings and 2 giant, threatening thugs with guns tell you you've committed a crime by signing the Libertarian Party's ballot access petition. They then force you, against your will, to sign a document recanting your original petition signature. Does this sound like America? Or does this sound like the Middle East, Soviet Russia, or any number of violent, tyrannical regimes? The days of secret police are ending, my friends. The empire is collapsing, with or without your help. Are you prepared for what's coming on the other end? This is the Angel Clark Show.
It started in 1913, and it's become a monster. We're on to you. SecretsOfTheFed.com. Discover what's really going on with over 100 daily updates and hourly trending news articles, podcasts, forums, and the newest memes. It's your premier liberty-oriented destination. Don't waste hours sorting through disinformation on the web. SecretsOfTheFed.com.
The Diary of Henry Myers tells the story of the collapse.
Hello.
Hey, Derek. It's Ken.
Hey, you want to be Ken on the air?
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm Ken on the Angel Show. I don't have to have.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for calling in. I appreciate that. So we are on break right now. But some of the audience can hear you if they're listening on YouTube. So
Gotcha.
Just want to let you know that our mics are hot, but we're not officially on LRN.FM. We'll be coming back in 3 minutes.
Okay.
So you want to hang tight, or you want to call back in?
No, that's fine.
All right, cool. I'm just going to mute you, and then we'll be back in 3. Thank you.
Okay.
With hospital rates at fractions of U.S. prices, and thanks to the recent Thai coup, unheard of low airfare and jaw-dropping deals on luxury hotel rooms. Provide a little info. Get a quote. Hit us up at AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
Hi, this is Michael Deaning from the Freedom Fiends radio show. The internet has lowered the cost barrier for a worldwide radio show to a price approaching zero. Yet there is one arena where you still need thousands of dollars to approach the audio quality of the corporate media. Doing a live spoken show with more than one host in different geographic locations. Our program, Fiend Phone, will solve that problem, and it will be given away free. Go to fiendphone.com to see what you can do to help. That's FEENPHONE.com.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Free Talk Live.
You can tell by the way they're dressed, by their demeanor, that these are illegal. Do you understand that they bring in leprosy and
Oh God, here's the
tuberculosis?
leprosy. Show me the news story about leprosy and not some
Do you
crackpot
understand
website.
this is our country and
Yes,
this is
hold
about
on.
our
Wait,
children?
Wait, stop the jingoistic crap. You're picking and choosing.
And
You're
I'm
saying
not
that a
afraid
bunch
of
of
the government,
murdering,
okay?
raping lepers are coming across the border.
Oh, yes, they are. In fact,
No,
there's a
that's
leprosy
nuts,
colony.
Trish.
There's a leprosy
If
colony
that
in
was the
Texas.
case, then in fact we would all know about it. I mean,
No, you
it
wouldn't.
sounds like the Night of the
No,
Living
you
Dead
wouldn't.
down there at the border, and they're just coming across
Do you
looking for
think-
the
You
brains.
think CNN and Fox News is going to tell you this? You got another thing coming.
Why wouldn't they? It'd be
It is
great for
planned
ratings.
by design. It's meant to bring this country
Oh, now there's
to
a
its knees.
conspiracy behind it, right? You gonna tell me the
I don't know
NWO's
if you
behind all
realize
this?
this.
Free Talk Live. Nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J.
On the Angel Clark Show.
Welcome back to the Angel Clark Show. We return this Tuesday, August 26th, 2014. We're live, broadcasting from Keene in the Shire, and in the last two segments we've been talking about hip-hop jihadists. That's at least what the British government suspects. Was the murderer of American journalist James Foley, as seen on video by ISIS terrorists, committed by a British rapper? That's what the government thinks. And before we move on to our next story about the Illinois GOP sending armed thugs to libertarian homes, we go to your calls. You're welcome to share anything you like, as long as it's news or peace, liberty related. We have some speculation on the line from Ken, who's dialing in via our call-in line, which is 443-424-8347. Ken, you are on the Angel Clark Show. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, good afternoon, Derrick. For those who probably know, I do the economics report on Fridays for Angel. So, but I also, my background is history and geopolitical science. So, the thing to take in consideration is that, you know, a lot of times we focus just on the singular event, and that's what the media wants. You know, if you watch the media, they always do sound bites of specific things, and it's usually across the board from every single news network, because this is what the corporate government quasi, you know, wants you to focus on, not to look at the big picture. Big picture is that shortly after this video came out, Scotland Yard, the UK police, issued an announcement that said anyone who watches or records off the internet this video will be considered an act of terrorism. Of course, this came shortly
When was
after
that announced? I didn't see that announcement.
Oh, this came. I'll find the link and put it in the chat room for you while
That'd be
we're
excellent.
talking.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's not that I don't believe you. I just like to cover that story. I think that's important.
Oh, certainly, yeah. And then, of course, the mayor of London, Boris Johnson, yesterday. this guy is like the Toronto mayor.
Yeah, he is
Just
hilarious.
absolute
And
90 IQ, and but you know what?
And he's got a haircut like Bill Gates. I wish he would
Yeah,
buy
he
himself
does.
a haircut.
Well, with a name like Boris, you have to wonder if his ancestry is a little bit more Russian than it is Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, he's about as intelligent as Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Exactly.
I apologize for the ringing in the background.
So,
it's occasional.
This guy
that
came
we
out
get
yesterday
other
and
callers,
said that
so go
anybody
on.
who does, anybody who goes to Iraq or Syria without letting the government know will be considered a terrorist and indicted as such. And he's asking Parliament to pass a new law to ensure that.
All right, that's disturbing. But don't you think it's just a reactionary politician, typical? This is what one would expect from a politician: an overreaction to clamp down on people's freedoms, to better control them, to keep them safe, right?
Yes, but what was the first thing that the president, the Secretary of State, et al., the UN ambassador stated was the cause for Benghazi?
What was that?
That was that video.
That's right. Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, and that came out almost immediately. And we find out that it had nothing to do with the video. And when they did this, of course, they're trying to obfuscate people from seeking and researching the truth.
Yeah, it seems that way. There was something fishy about this video, and I don't put myself in the class of conspiracy theorists. I think there's plenty that the government does that is completely evil and immoral and worth focusing on without digging into the other aspects that are more secretive. So, if they're keeping, if this is a manipulation tactic, as it seems you're suggesting it is, there's plenty enough to focus on that governments do that's immoral without digging into this conspiracy theory, for lack of a better term.
Well, see, these are just some of the basic things. What we call conspiracy theory is simply the mainstream not accepting the facts that surround it and have answers for those things. Going back to Roswell, they had to change the story about 3, 4, 5 times. Now, I don't know if an alien landed at Roswell in 1947, but if the government or the agencies involved really knew what it was, why did they have to give us 5 different stories and then try to shut up everybody?
Yeah, that's concerning. And about Roswell, I heard that there was a newspaper that had to redact what it printed the previous day because they reported about a crash landing. And then the Navy got to them and said, hey, we're going to destroy all those newspapers, okay?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's a little disturbing. Yeah, sure, there's stuff that the government does that is intended to manipulate the public. And it's good to be aware of that. So in a nutshell, what do you think is the agenda here? What's really going on?
Here's the real agenda, okay? If you do your research, you will find out that ISIS was actually trained in camps by MI6.
No, okay. I don't know. That's meaningless to me. What is MI6?
MI6 is British intelligence. It's the equivalent of the CIA.
Oh, I think that's what I was looking at. I called them M15 and M16, but it's probably MI5 and MI6.
Right. It stands for Military Intelligence Sector 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, those are the ones who were reviewing the video, so isn't that convenient? It seems like the same people who trained them are also the people reviewing the video, and they can say, "Oh yes, we think this is authentic."
Right, and these come from separate groups. There were a number of different groups that were training in the desert regions, many of which became the coalition of different organizations that were fighting for the CIA, for MI6 in Syria. They were the quote-unquote first. It was a civil war. Then it was insurgents, and then, of course, it was Al-Qaeda and Muslims or whatever. But here's the interesting thing about it. After this this occurred, what happened on the U.S. side? Barack Obama all of a sudden gets into high gear and now is sending over troops. He's not going to say boots on the ground, but in reality he's sending over advisors, which is another name for troops. He's sending over advisors, sending over troops. He had Chuck Hagel, the Secretary of Defense, come out and say, well, you know what, we knew about this a year, 2 years ago, and we had tried to get these hostages, and it was a perfect plan, but they were gone by the time we got there. There's a story about that that came out last week.
Okay.
Now, follow this up. Yesterday, there was some scuttlebutt coming from leaked sources inside the White House or the Department of Defense, whichever, they're under the same umbrella, that President Obama is now going to, since ISIS is in both Iraq and Syria, that's their caliphate region, he's going to start sending drones and bombers into Syria to chase after ISIS.
And wasn't he talking about that for years? Wasn't he trying to get troops into Syria for like the past 3 years?
Well, it was in 2013 September, but he got stopped by Putin.
Right, and so now he's got an excuse.
Right, and what he's doing is he's trying to create chaos. He's already involved with advisors in Ukraine. He's already involved with advisors in Iraq, and troops. He's already now trying to get back into Syria. He's already in Africa. He's all over the place. And what the thing is that the country is tired of a decade of war.
Yes.
And they're really tired of the fact that after 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears in Iraq, we pull out, and this is
and then everything collapses.
Obama. What's that?
We pull out, and then everything collapses, and there's no oil to show for it. There's like, people thought, well, this is awful, but at least the oil prices are going to be really low. That didn't happen.
Well, the thing you also have to look at is they desperately need Syria because behind all this is an economic war. You know what's being built right now from Busan, South Korea, all the way to London?
What?
The new Silk Road. And this is a literal road. This is going to be the largest, strongest, and most reinforced road that's going to be restricted to military and commercial travel, no individuals.
This is too interesting to cut you off here, Ken. Are you able to stay with us on the line and give us a little more on this road?
Yep.
Okay, I appreciate that. Hold your thoughts. We'll come back to you. We'll also take your calls, 443-424-8347, or Skype DerrickJFreeman. You're listening to The Angel Clark Show.
Attention. Have you been in a serious automobile accident? Then you need to call our attorneys now. We specialize in helping our clients get compensated for major auto injuries. If you've been in any type of car or motorcycle accident and you've been seriously injured, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Our attorneys have recovered millions and millions of dollars for injured clients. There are no out-of-pocket costs to you ever. We only receive a fee when we win your case. We are available 24/7. If you've been in an accident and been seriously injured, make this free call to our attorneys now. Call the Personal Injury Center at 800-648-9173. 800-648-9173. 800-648-9173. That's 800-648-9173. This ad is paid for by participating member law firms. We are not an attorney referral service. Representation may not be...
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
More of The Angel Clark Show is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darrell W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, August 26th, 2014. Silver is trading at $19.64 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,290 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $509. Antiwar.com reports a new push for a return to the Gaza ceasefire is making considerable progress, with both Islamic Jihad and Hamas agreeing to the idea, and the Palestinians saying that the only real sticking point is whether or not Israel will accept it. Israeli officials say that no decision has been made on the ceasefire call, and that they rejected several previous ceasefire proposals before the current one was proposed. Selling the ceasefire to Israel's cabinet is a tough matter, as the far-right security cabinet has a lot of hawks who don't want anything short of a full military conquest of the Strip. Indeed, the last ceasefire collapsed largely because Israel rejected the peace deal that was being negotiated. The U.S. and European Union have been working on a draft UN resolution calling for a new ceasefire, though it will be extremely unusual for the U.S. to introduce such a resolution without Israel's endorsement. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. Reuters reports, family, friends, and supporters of Michael Brown celebrated the life of the teenager slain by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri, in a music-filled funeral service ringing with calls for peace and police reforms on Monday. Brown's body lay in a black and gold casket at the Friendly Temple Missionary Baptist Church, topped with the St. Louis Cardinals baseball cap he was wearing when he was killed on August 9th. People jammed inside the modern red brick church and gathered outside on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive in St. Louis for the celebration, a markedly different scene from the violent protests that rocked the St. Louis suburb after the police shooting of the unarmed 18-year-old Brown. Brown slaying has focused global attention on the state of race relations in the United States. Police and demonstrators in Ferguson clashed nightly for more than a week, with authorities coming under fire for mass arrest and the use of heavy-handed tactics and military gear. The teenager's coffin was surrounded by photos of him as a child, graduating from school and smiling in his baseball cap. Spirited gospel music by a choir and horn players filled the sanctuary, and mourners clapped their hands and danced in the aisles. Readings from the Bible were met with whoops and cheers. Mike Montgomery, a city employee who took the day off from work to attend, said, "It was real spiritual," adding, "I usually hear more mourning at a funeral. I think the family wanted a celebration. That's why they had the upbeat music." ExpressCoin is the best choice for buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and more. ExpressCoin prides themselves on their customer service, so much so that the back end on the website should allow them to be even more focused on your needs. Get your cryptocurrencies with money order, check, wire transfer, or cash deposit. Get started at expresscoin.fppradio.com. That's expresscoin.fppradio.com. The AP reports, Amazon is buying streaming platform Twitch Interactive for $970 million in cash as it seeks to take part in video gaming's growth as an online spectator sport. Twitch is a multi-channel online network built for a generation of people who not only enjoy playing video games, but find it entertaining to watch others who might impart tricks and tips for excelling at their favorite games. Amazon's purchase is an acknowledgement that gameplay video feeds are increasingly lucrative. Twitch had 55 million unique visitors in July of this year, up from 20 million in July 2012. Most visited the Twitch.tv website to watch other people play live or recorded games and competitions interspersed with advertising. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos said in a statement, "Broadcasting and watching gameplay is a global phenomenon, and Twitch has built a platform that brings together tens of millions of people who watch billions of minutes of games each month." The deal is the latest example of Amazon expanding into new commercial arenas. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
With each successive bite failing to relieve his anxieties, increasingly worried man Dylan Hawks told reporters today that he has yet to come across any trace of guacamole in his burrito, despite having specifically requested it when ordering.
No, there definitely wasn't any guac there. Cheese, beans, chorizo. Oh man, I hope they didn't forget.
Hawks has continued to maintain hope that there may still be an undiscovered sliver of avocado somewhere in his tortilla. However, with his fears for the meal mounting, Hawks has reportedly considered asking the cashier for a refund at various points while eating the burrito.
The thing is, if you had a burrito and it was missing cheese, you might not notice it because there's sour cream, but guacamole is completely different. I just don't know how I wouldn't have tasted it by now. Christ. I'm almost done with this thing.
This is the Onion News Network.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J. on the Angel Clark Show. Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl with a good, I would call it.
Welcome back to the second hour of the Angel Clark Show. We're live, broadcasting from Keene in the Shire. You can learn about what's going on here in Keene at freekeene.com. I'm filling in for Angel Clark today. If you're just tuning in, Angel couldn't be with us. She's fighting terrorism. But, I don't know, abducted by the feds, riding across a rainbow, whatever kind of excuse you want. She can't be with us today, but I'm delighted to be filling in. We're taking calls. 443-424-8347 is the call-in line. You can also Skype me, Derrick J. Freeman. Just send a contact request. It'll be accepted. Then I'll put you on the air. Right now we're talking about speculation, about what's really going on with the invasion of Syria and this video of a so-called execution. Is that really what's happening on the screen? Or is this just an excuse drummed up by the authorities to invade Syria? Well, that's what Ken thinks, and he's on the line calling from... Where are you calling from, Ken?
Oh, I'm out in Phoenix.
All right, calling from Phoenix. So what's really going on here? You started talking at the end of the last segment about a road, not a metaphorical road, but a literal road.
Yeah, the new Silk Road is currently being constructed. It's going to go from a port just outside of Busan in South Korea all the way across China, Central Asia, Afghanistan. This is why the Chinese are pretty much have all the contracts in Afghanistan. The U.S. doesn't. We just have the poppy fields. Through there, then it's going to go through Germany and end up in Britain. So what it's going to do is it's going to take what used to be a 52-day tanker and ship travel to bring goods anywhere around the world. It's going to cut most of it down to about 14 days.
Wow. Okay, that's a dramatic improvement. So
exactly.
Why are you concerned about this?
Well, the thing is it goes through Syria, just like the alternative pipelines go through Syria. See, the battle with Syria right now, just like the battle with Iran, is about oil. You remember when we used to get into a big huff about Iran's nuclear program?
Yeah,
it had nothing to do with creating weapons.
The U.S. was terribly concerned. Politicians used to go on the news all the time saying, they're building nuclear weapons! But all the while, Iran was totally transparent that they were working on building nuclear power. They allowed weapons inspectors to come in and monitor them. They had approval from the UN. So why was the U.S. shouting about this? You think they had ulterior motives?
Because they were under threat by it, but not because of nuclear weapons or because of Israel. The reason that Iran does not have a lot of refineries. Okay, they have oil, but they don't have fuel. They don't have gas. They don't have refined thing. Normally, they have to ship it out to the U.S. and the big refiners like ExxonMobil and Chevron, et cetera, those big conglomerates will refine it and then ship it back, which increases the cost. Iran wanted to be able to fuel their refineries, so they thought nuclear power would be the best way to do this.
Seems
and that's
reasonable.
what their nuclear reactors were for, to create refineries so they could refine their oil on site in the country. Well,
so it sounds like they're talking about improving their own lives by providing a good for themselves, becoming energy independent, and maybe even producing an excess so that they could sell some and become profitable.
It's that last part that threatens the United States, okay? Because right now, if Iran can refine its own oil, then Saudi Arabia becomes persona non grata. And if Saudi Arabia is no longer in charge of OPEC and is no longer in charge of the Middle Eastern oil cartel, then the petrodollar is dead. And what happens to the dollar when it's no longer the reserve currency?
Oh, it loses value.
It's not just lose value. The United States will completely collapse. There are $17 trillion, the same amount that's the national debt, that are outside the U.S. being used around the world right now to purchase oil in dollars. If the dollar is no longer the reserve currency and the petrodollar, and it's no longer used to buy oil, which is the standard, that $17 trillion is going to come rushing back to the United States, cause instant hyperinflation, and nobody will accept our currency.
Well, that's terrifying. Is there some way to avoid this fate?
It's called war, and this is the last bastion of a despot. This is why we are trying to do Syria. We are trying to get our overt actions led to the overthrow of the duly elected president of Ukraine, so that Ukraine would stay with NATO in the West. The U.S. could put in missile bases and put them on the border of Russia, and also to take over the oil pipelines that Russia currently has through Ukraine that supply Germany.
This is some fascinating information that you're presenting here, Ken, and some of it, a lot of it are facts, but some of it is speculation. I just want to point out that no speculation is required to notice that when governments want something, they take it by force. And when businesses want something, they have to buy it or trade value for value. So I wanted to build some road, and I thought that the road was going to be very profitable because I can transport products across it quickly and beat my competitors that way. Then I'm going to be able to make an offer to the rightful owner of the land and say, hey, I want to build this road, here's $1 million. $1 million not enough, here's $2 million. And then you bid up until you have justly acquired the property. But the U.S., Obama, they don't seem interested in doing that. They're ready to use guns to take with force instead of negotiating with words.
Well, what the U.S. is doing goes back to the Wolfowitz Doctrine. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but a member of the State Department named Wolfowitz, back in 1993, I think it was, right after the fall of the Soviet Union, he wrote a doctrine that said that now that the superpower, the Soviet Union, has fallen, it is the job of the United States to use military, diplomatic, political, and economic means to ensure that Russia or any other country does not reach the level of superpower status again, i.e., the U.S. will be the only superpower on the earth. And all of these proxy wars and all of these moves into the Middle East and all of these, the fact we have 52 conflicts with American soldiers right now fighting in those countries live at this time. We have 70 bases that are still active and live outside of NATO. Okay, this whole thing is to ensure that the U.S. controls the financial system, it controls foreign policy, and it controls the direction and agendas that things go. And like I said, this is a documented white paper. You can look it up, the Wolfowitz Doctrine. And this is one of the reasons why they are going after Russia. And you know, the thing about it is most people think Putin, especially from the propaganda in the West, they say he's just trying to rebuild the Soviet Union because he's a former communist and KGB agent. No, the reality is that Putin was around. He was in East Germany. By the way, guess who he was worked with in Germany and in East Germany just at the time of the fall of the Soviet Union?
Who?
Angela Merkel.
Ah, interesting. Interesting that those two would have a connection.
Exactly. Angela Merkel grew up in East Germany. She did her schooling at the University of Moscow, and her father was a member of one of the leading Christian communist parties.
We've got a lot of good info here, Ken. I appreciate you bringing this call forward and bringing this information to me and the public. This is important stuff for us to consider. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ken. The Angel Clark Show will return. You can share your thoughts. Dial in 443-424-8347 or Skype me, Derrick J. Freeman. We'll be right back.
Bitcoin Not Bobs needs your help to hoodie the homeless. We have until October 7th to raise the 47 Bitcoins needed to reach our goal. We are calling on the Bitcoin community to make this happen. You can pledge contributions to the Bitcoin Starter Campaign, purchase a Bitcoin Not Bombs t-shirt, or donate to Bitcoin Not Bombs directly. Every t-shirt sold is priced to pay for one hoodie to keep someone warm this winter. Go to bitcoinnotbombs.com.
A great new book is hard to find, with today's authors glorifying the state. I have an alternative, and his name is Taryn Lupo at lupolit.com. Taryn has written over 20 Liberty-themed short stories, manuals, and books, ranging from nonfiction, humor, horror, and romance to young adult and children's fiction. Read the words that reflect your views. Read Taryn Lupo at lupolit.com. A traveler? Well, check out Taryn's free audiobooks, perfect for your lifestyle. Stop supporting authors that support the state. Instead, support lupolit.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power, but there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J.
on the Angel Clark Show.
Welcome back to the Angel Clark Show. We return to the story about the Illinois GOP sending armed thugs to libertarian homes. IllinoisHerald.com reports that Illinois Republicans went way too far. In their desperate attempt to keep the Illinois Libertarian Party off the November ballot. Imagine your doorbell rings, and two giant, threatening thugs with guns tell you you've committed a crime by signing the Libertarian Party's ballot access petition. Then they force you, against your will, to sign a document recanting your original petition signature. It happened across Illinois, and it's a Class 4 felony. Illinois Republicans may go to prison, and they may just lose what was going to be a landslide general election over it. It's bad enough that in Illinois, Republican and Democrat Party congressional candidates need to submit only 300 and 500 petition signatures, respectively, to appear on the ballot. Independents, Libertarians, Greens, and all others running for the same office must submit an average of 20,000 signatures. This election, opposition parties needed to submit 25,000 valid signatures to get their candidates on the ballot. The Libertarians, Greens, and the Constitution Party all did. The Republicans kicked the Constitution Party off the coming ballot. The Democrats, in the form of the elected Cook County Record of Deeds, kicked the Greens off. But having collected and submitted 42,986 signatures, the Illinois Libertarians made it nearly impossible for state Republicans to knock them off. That's why they've been sending armed thugs with guns to the homes of those who signed the Libertarian Party's petitions, terrorizing them into signing additional documents recanting their original signature. Over the past 2 weeks, election officials, Republican Party operatives, and Libertarian Party supporters have been engaged in an effort to analyze every one of the Libertarian Party's 43,000 signatures, with the GOP challenging every signature they could, and the Libertarian Party's volunteers steadfastly defending their validity. By the end of the process last week, the Republicans officially challenged 23,667 Libertarian signatures. But the Board of Education officials only agreed with, or the Board of, they're using an abbreviation in this article, the BOE, the Board of Elections officials, only agreed with 12,789 of those challenges, leaving the Illinois Libertarians with over 30,000. That's over 5,000 more than the 25,000 needed. The Libertarians had won. They won their right to participate in the coming 2014 general election. Or so they thought. The Libertarian Party of Illinois should have won their right to have their candidates on the ballot, but the above process is only the preliminary procedure. Board of Elections hearing officers carried out the process to this point, and they've officially recommended that the Libertarian Party's candidates be included on the November ballot. But it's up to the full board to make the final decision. That decision is scheduled to be announced this morning at the state capitol. But even if the Libertarians are victorious, don't expect this story to go away. Americans from all political walks of life are outraged at the Illinois GOP's use of guns and terror, with the Illinois governor calling for a criminal investigation. Over the past week, Republican operatives have been submitting signed affidavits to the Board of Elections, all of which include Libertarian petition signers allegedly claiming they didn't remember signing the Libertarian Party's ballot access petition. The Illinois GOP was attempting to influence the board in the week before they made their final decision. With the typical corporate media blackout in place of opposition parties and their candidates, it wasn't until yesterday that the independent-leaning Chicago Sun-Times finally published the story under the title, "Under the Gun in Petition Challenge." A couple of months later, after Julius Hooks signed a political party's nominating petitions, a man with a gun walked up to Hooks as he left his home in Oak Park, the Sun-Times article begins. The man said he was a private investigator. He told Hooks the petition that he had signed was fraudulent and asked him to sign something. Hooks hastily agreed and signed the paper. I didn't have time to fully review this document because the man with a gun instructed me to sign it. I was afraid of him and what he may do to me if I refused, Hooks says. The Sun-Times tracked down the woman who circulated the Libertarian Party ballot access petition Julius Hooks had signed back in May. The petition was circulated by Sarah Dart. When asked by the newspaper, Dart told a similar story of armed Republicans coming to her home and terrorizing her. According to the publication, quote, Dart says a private investigator named Carlos Rodriguez contacted her, asking about a missing girl who knew someone she supposedly knew. She believes the story about the missing girl was a ruse. Believing there was a missing young girl whose life was at stake, Dart met with Rodriguez. She was caught completely by surprise when he confronted her with a stack of her libertarian petitions and a gun. He demanded she sign an affidavit saying the signatures were obtained fraudulently. But Sarah Dart refused, even though she admits she was terrified by this lying, armed, threatening man. According to the business card Rodriguez gave Dart, he works for the Morrison Security Department in Alsip, Illinois. The Sun-Times reports that the company's owner is the Palos Township Republican leader. Well, isn't that a surprise? A so-called private investigator has a business card linking him to the Republican leadership. What's really going on here? Are the Republicans and Democrats that afraid of new ideas? This is the Angel Clark Show.
Are you looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire this fall? You're invited to Keenvention. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, Rich Paul is our first announced keynote speaker, and more are being announced now at keenvention.info. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. You can pre-order your tickets now for just $60 at keenvention.info, or you can pay with Bitcoin. Visit keenvention.info for more information and to lock in your tickets at the pre-order $60 price for the whole weekend. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info. On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Abdel-Majed Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm.
With job numbers near historic lows, Forbes magazine has released a list of tips for finding a job, all of which involve witnessing an employer murder someone. Forbes says despite the grim economy, employers are still hungry for talented workers who know how important it is to forget about whatever they think they saw or heard.
So me and a couple of friends were out smoking at the Viaduct the other day, and we saw this really rich guy in a Mercedes pull up in his car and drop nothing. Now I'm the Vice President of International Development.
According to Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein, we had a great quarter and hired hundreds of new employees. I haven't done anything wrong, and all my employees will tell you the same thing because that's the deal we had. But the article warns that stumbling onto a coke-fueled CEO strangling a prostitute isn't a foolproof method for finding work because employers are just as likely to murder you as they are to hire you.
This is the Onion News Network.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J. on the Angel Clark Show. Hello? I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl with a good, I would call it. Wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat and 6'4"
The Republicans in Illinois are so afraid of the Libertarians being on the ballot, just being an option, that it seems that they've sent armed thugs to the doors of Libertarians to threaten them. That's a Class 4 felony in Illinois. Threatening people and lying to them, making them sign a document recanting their original position. But how is it that these Libertarians, who typically are pretty gun-friendly, are even threatened at all by men with guns? Well, that is exactly what's happening in Illinois, and once word spread about the armed thugs showing up at the homes of voters who signed the Libertarian Party's ballot access petitions, threatening and intimidating them into recanting their signatures, others began coming forward. One of them was tough, stubborn, DuPage County Libertarian Warrant Bent. The DuPage Libertarians website explains how a man with a gun showed up at Bent's home last Sunday, insisting that the petition circular was fraud, and that Mr. Bent had been victimized and must sign an affidavit recanting his original signature. Being an active Libertarian Party volunteer, Warren Bent turned the tables on this threatening man and demanded to know who hired him, who put him up to this terror campaign. Bent says the guy fled at that point. Over the past week, the Illinois Board of Elections has been hearing additional challenges to the Libertarian Party's ballot access petitions based on the signed affidavits the Republicans were able to acquire using their armed terror campaign. In response, a handful of dedicated and determined Libertarians took the stand to defend the petitions they themselves circulated. One of those admirable individuals was Julie Fox, a Libertarian Party candidate for the Illinois Comptroller. Another was DuPage County Chairman Brian Lambrecht. Lambrecht explains, "These affidavits turned up at the State Board of Elections in front of a hearing officer. One was against me, which I personally testified against. A woman claimed she couldn't remember me after being confronted by someone at her door with a photo of me. For those of you who have never personally met me, I'm not the kind of guy you easily forget. I even made this joke while testifying, eliciting many laughs from everyone in the room, and did exceptionally well defending my standing as a good, honest petitioner." In her report, the hearing officer stated that, quote, "The objectors failed to meet their burden of proof in demonstrating any of their objections with regard to Mr. Lambrecht," and found Mr. Lambrecht's testimony credible, and therefore recommend that the objection regarding Mr. Lambrecht's petition be overruled. During the same proceedings, a Libertarian Party went on the offensive by calling witnesses of their own. One of those witnesses was a scared young girl who testified that she had been visited multiple times at her home by armed men who said they made her frightened each time. Lambrecht explains, "This girl, who was our second biggest signature collector in the state, was scared, but not scared enough. She knew the work she did was honest and legal, and she refused to give in. So, she testified on our behalf about the confrontations. That testimony helped our case. All the hard work, controversy, and intimidation will come to a final conclusion at 10:30 a.m. today, when the Illinois Board of Elections makes its final ruling on whether or not the Illinois Libertarian Party candidates can participate in the November general election. Regardless of how the board rules, this episode is nowhere near over. The call for criminal charges against the Illinois Republican Party and its armed thugs is growing louder by the second. Those calls are coming from Libertarians, Greens, Independents, Democrats, mainstream news outlets like the Chicago Sun-Times, and political publications like Capital Facts. The latter reported yesterday that the Illinois Republicans' tactics were probably Class 4 felonies. They reprinted the Illinois state law, writing, "Prevention of voting or candidate support. Any person who, by force, intimidation, threat, deception, or forgery, knowingly prevents any other person from registering to vote or lawfully voting, supporting or opposing the nomination or election of any person for public office, or any public question voted upon at election, shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony." Illinois Governor Pat Quinn released a statement yesterday demanding a criminal investigation. As quoted by Capital Facts, Quinn said, quote, "We are deeply disturbed that the Rauner forces are intimidating people with weapons. Sending armed investigators to people's homes in the name of politics is not okay, in Illinois or anywhere else. Voter intimidation has no place in our state, particularly with guns. This is a serious matter, and it should be investigated by the State Board of Elections, Cook County State's Attorney, and the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Quinn is referring to his November opponent, Republican gubernatorial candidate and billionaire Bruce Rauner. State Democrats are accusing the GOP candidate of being behind the extensive terror campaign, using the vast fortune he allegedly has hidden in 7 Cayman Island offshore bank accounts to hire an army of gun-toting gangsters to take the governor's mansion by force. The final decision by the Illinois Board of Elections on whether the Libertarian Party's candidates can be included on the November ballot is scheduled to be announced this morning. The board's own preliminary investigators recommended they be approved, but the state Republicans have lobbied hard and ruthlessly over the past week to influence the full board's final decision. Regardless of the ruling, this probably isn't the last we'll hear about this scandal. Sending thugs with guns to the homes of people who signed ballot access petitions to terrorize them into recanting them is so far over the line, it literally threatens America's democracy. For more information on the Libertarian Party of Illinois, visit their website at lpillinois.org. This story from the Illinois Herald. And while there are some points of disagreement between me and this author, this is as serious as it gets. People showing up to your house with guns to force you to do something against your will. Sure, this time it's just signing a piece of paper. But if political parties can get away with sending armed thugs to your door and forcing you to sign a piece of paper, what else can they force you to do? Why is it such a threat to the establishment that libertarians or Greens are able to be an option for voters? Seems the Republicans and Democrats want to keep things just the way they are, under their control. Share your thoughts. Just minutes remain on The Angel Clark Show.
Energy, vitality, clarity of mind, and incredible immune support. The awesome power of nature is now in your hands. Hi, this is Sean from One with Nature. Our herbal formulas contain some of the greatest botanicals from around the world, and they are ready and willing to help you achieve your goals. Visit us at onewithnature.com. That's WON withnature.com.
Did you agree? Did you totally agree? I'll bet that you did, but did you read the agreement? There are 7 billion people on Earth, and there are over 6 billion active cell phone accounts right now, and every one of them came with an agreement. Billions have already agreed to allow entities that they do not know to use and abuse every feature of their mobile devices. Your computer activity is monitored and archived, your car is tracked, and even your face is scanned. The current power structure grows more fearful every day of your desire for anonymity, independence, free association, freedom of movement, freedom of expression, and your freedom of thought. And entire categories of humans will be targeted. And if they, them, those that won't leave us alone determine that we are not within their control, then we will be categorized as out of control. FreedomsPhoenix.com will launch the next phase of the Levolution by the end of the summer of 2014. And if you have to tell your neighbors about it, then we did it wrong.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's key New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Badavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
There's probably police at your door because you're listening to Derrick J. on the Angel Clark Show.
Have it your way. Unless you want high taxes. Burger King is making a move to buy Tim Hortons and move to Canada so they can stop paying U.S. corporate taxes. Jordan Weissman writes at Slate.com that on Sunday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Burger King is in discussions to buy Tim Hortons, Canada's much-beloved answer to Dunkin' Donuts, and moved its official headquarters to north of the border, a so-called tax inversion deal that would let it avoid paying high U.S. corporate rates. The U.S. corporate taxes are high, and it's anything but a shock that companies would go to extreme lengths to avoid them. But inversions, in which a U.S. company buys a smaller foreign corporation, then essentially moves its home address abroad for tax purposes, have been the subject of continuous outrage in Washington this spring and summer, as the deals have grown more common. President Obama has slammed self-deporting businesses as corporate deserters that are not doing right by the country and by the American people. He's called on Congress to fix the tax code in order to make these mergers more difficult. But because nobody really expects Capitol Hill to act, Republicans only want to deal with inversions as part of a more comprehensive tax reform, the Treasury is considering unilateral measures meant to limit them. If a well-known consumer brand like Burger King actually ditches its citizenship, it'll add some fuel to the fire. But beyond political implications, it'll be fascinating to see how diners respond. As the New York Times notes, the recent spate of inversions has mostly involved pharmaceutical companies. Pfizer may still be pursuing such a deal, but for drug companies, these deals make perfect sense. Most aren't household names, and in the end, people aren't going to boycott the medication they need because they sense a company lacks the requisite degree of economic patriotism. But a burger chain? Americans have no shortage of places where they can fill up on starch and grease. Pharmacy chain Walgreens abandoned its own plan to invert, partly out of fear that customers would revolt. It's a little surprising that Burger King, a perennial also ran behind McDonald's, would take the same risk. But it will be an interesting test of how much the American public really cares about this sort of thing. For what it's worth, the tie-up might not entirely be about avoiding the IRS. The combined chain may not even save that much on its tax bill, according to the Times sources. Quote, the American corporate tax rate is about 35%, while Canada's is about 15%. But people briefed on the deal negotiations said that the main driver in the talks wasn't taxes. Burger King already pays a tax rate of roughly 27% and would shave off only a couple of percentage points by moving to Canada, according to the people briefed on the matter. Another point of attraction for Burger King is that Tim Hortons is pretty much synonymous with coffee in Canada, and coffee is an area Burger King has been having trouble breaking into. In 2006, the last number I could turn up, Tim Hortons had 62% of Canada's Java market, compared with 7% for Starbucks. With around 4,500 locations worldwide, Tim Hortons has a market cap of $8.4 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal. Burger King, despite having 13,000 restaurants around the globe, is worth about $10 billion. Canada's regulators, according to the Times, have the power to block the merger if it's deemed to not be in the best interests of the country. Many Canadians might feel some nationalist pride about any American co-opting of their favorite donut shop, which is so Canadian that it was co-founded by a former hockey player. Making the combined company Canadian, at least on paper, may placate those patriotic concerns, at least for the Tim Hortons half of the equation. As for Burger King, if this deal happens, I wouldn't be surprised if McDonald's ads started featuring a few more American flags. Very interesting to see what people will endure as consumers. Do they want a patriotic Burger King? Do we want patriotic burgers and fries at all? Or does it just matter what the cost? For my own part, I'm only interested in the dollars and cents. Fly whatever freak flag you like. I don't care. Just provide me delicious burgers and fries. Burger King, by the way, is one of those companies that accepts Bitcoin if you use the third-party app called Gift, G-Y-F-T. Yes, you can spend Bitcoin on a Whopper just by using your smartphone. I have done it. And I don't eat Burger King all the time, but I was in a pinch while traveling. And it's nice to be able to spend Bitcoin on real food, if you can call Burger King real food. Speaking of food, cannabis-infused fizzy drinks are now on sale in the U.S. Fizzy drinks being the UK term for soda. This story comes from The Telegraph at telegraph.co.uk. A cannabis-infused fizzy drink is now on sale in the state of Washington as part of the ever-expanding U.S. market for legal pot products. Less than 2 months after recreational cannabis became legal in the West Coast state, Washingtonians can now get their highs out of a soda bottle. The drinks, called legal, come in cherry, lemon, and pomegranate flavors, but are all infused with 10 milligrams of liquid cannabis. The drinks cost around $10. They're being marketed as a gentler alternative to smoking that could be attractive to those still wary about cannabis. It's much more approachable as opposed to, say, "Hey, Mom and Dad, do you want a joint?" But the Washington-based company has not forgotten its more traditional stoner market. The lemon ginger flavored drink is presented with the tagline, "Couch, meet butt." It promises the drink is so ridiculously relaxing that you may find yourself becoming one with your furniture. The company is hoping to begin selling iced coffee shortly, promoting their cold brew as a drink with a mild high that could be drunk with breakfast. You'll swim off into a day of work or play filled to the brim with pure joy, they promise. For now, the sodas will only be sold in Washington's certified cannabis dispensaries, but could one day be available on supermarket shelves. Recreational cannabis became legal in Washington state in July, making it the second state to legalize cannabis after Colorado began sales in January. Voters in Alaska and Oregon, Washington's neighboring state, will have their say on similar measures during referenda in November. For our final story tonight, we turn to peacekeeper.org, where the Peacekeeper app, a tool that gives individuals and families a way to effectively safeguard their own houses and communities, has produced a new video. We're going to close the Angel Clark Show with that video. Take a listen.
If your loved one is in danger, the Peacekeeper app is a state-of-the-art emergency response system that allows private individuals to easily send, receive, and respond to emergency alerts. With Peacekeeper, you and your loved ones can get the help they need when seconds count the most. The Peacekeeper app is geared towards neighbors, which optimizes response time and personal incentive. Alerts contain detailed information about the type of emergency, so that responders will know immediately where to find you and what to expect.
We're going to have to leave it there for this edition of the Angel Clark Show. Angel will return to LRN.FM tomorrow. In the meantime, check out her website, noarmycanstopanidea.com and radiofreedom.us. Peace, y'all.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online